This is LBC News.
That is on the way before 1 o'clock, but all the attention has been on Donald Trump's influence on world affairs this lunchtime, his board of peace, an arguable U-turn on Greenland, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. So let's bring in our Washington correspondent, Simon Marks. Simon, should we start with the board of peace? Donald Trump clearly proud of what he's unveiled today, this board to oversee Gaza and bring about world peace.
Well, yes, the ambition is, Steve, off the charts, as you were indicating. I mean, let's just run through the charter members of the Board of Peace, the people that have signed up to get involved right now. They are Bahrain, Morocco, Argentina, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, Egypt, Hungary, Indonesia, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Mongolia, Pakistan, Paraguay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and, of course, the United States. You will notice that on that list, apart from the United States, there is not a single member of the G7. And as we know, Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, has indicated today that the UK certainly isn't going to get involved because it opposes the notion that Vladimir Putin has been invited to join the Board of Peace. There's no question that the President would have loved Vladimir Putin to confirm by now his membership of the Board of Peace, but the Russians say they're still thinking of it. I didn't include Israel on the list. They are signing up to the Board of Peace, but of course Benjamin Netanyahu was not in Davos because were he to travel to Davos to sign the founding documents, he would be at risk of arrest under the war crimes charges that he's wanted for at the International Court of Justice. President Trump is widely reported here to consider the Board of Peace as a possible alternative on the world stage to the United Nations Security Council. And he certainly didn't do anything to dispel that notion in the comments that he made in Davos within the last few hours.
I've always said the United Nations has got tremendous potential, has not used it. The kind of people we have here, coupled with the United Nations, can be something very, very unique for the world. It's for the world. This isn't United States. This is for the world.
Now, remember that this Board of Peace was initially viewed as simply an organisation that was going to come together and figure out post-conflict governing arrangements in Gaza. But it is absolutely apparent that this is now about a lot more than that. This is about an organisation that President Trump absolutely hopes is going to outlive his presidency. This is about an organisation that he plans personally to helm for not just the rest of his presidency, but it would appear he will remain chairman of the Board of Peace even after he departs the White House. This is an organisation that each founder member is required to pony up $1 billion in cash to join, and the President of the United States, as chairman, will be controlling all of that money. Another central player in the Board of Peace is the President's own son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who was part of today's signing ceremony in Davos.
It's really been an incredible effort, very entrepreneurial, and we really did it in the way. I've been working now with President Trump for 10 years on politics, and what continues to amaze me is that he always takes a first principles approach and says, what's the most optimal outcome? Aim for that.
Jared Kushner hailing the Board of Peace and absolutely stoking this notion that Donald Trump sees this now as being a permanent presence on the international stage that is going to address conflicts that the United Nations Security Council has been unable to solve. And that, Steve, means that this is a big challenge to every government in Europe, particularly, of course, the UK's. As the Board of Peace comes together, they will be eager to see whether it lives up to any of the grand plans that Donald Trump has for it.
Indeed. I mean, the change from 24 hours ago when we were waiting for Donald Trump to speak about, well, he'd give his big speech where he mentioned Greenland and taking what some people see as a U-turn. The difference is stark, but we should focus on Greenland. Do you think that was a U-turn by Donald Trump? Mark Rutte says no.
I think it's a little too early to tell. because it's very unclear what Mark Rutte has dangled in front of Donald Trump in order to attain, at least in Davos, a short-term climb down. It was announced by President Trump in an interview with CNBC yesterday afternoon here in the United States, evening in Davos.
We're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland, and it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
And did those other things include the United States getting ownership of Greenland? The president was asked that by CNN's Caitlin Collins a few minutes later as he walked down the corridors in Davos.
Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
If you're wondering what the cocktail piano player is doing in the background, I mean, that's actually the music that was playing over the speakers as Donald Trump arrived there and encountered reporters to ask him about the future of Greenland. And as you heard in that kind of sigh, he didn't want to be drawn on whether he had secured any promise whatsoever of ownership of Greenland. The New York Times reports that what has been cooked up is an idea that will offer Donald Trump small packets of land in Greenland upon which he can build American military bases, and those packets of land will be considered United States sovereign territory, much in the way that Akrotiri, the British military base in Cyprus, is UK sovereign soil and has been since Cyprus won independence back in 1960. Now, it is far from clear whether Denmark and the Greenlanders are on board with that idea, and it is also far from clear whether it is going to go enough to satiate Donald Trump. I think the Greenlanders are likely to think that it's the thin end of a potentially very thick wedge. It allows Donald Trump to get his foot in the door, secure ownership of some small bits of Greenland, and then go for broke as he continues a campaign to own the entire territory. But it's also equally possible that when Donald Trump gets back to Washington and realizes what he's being offered, he may well find that it falls substantially short of his demand. And it was an unequivocal demand in yesterday's speech. Greenland is part of North America. It's our territory. He didn't say we'd like a few small chunks of it. He made it absolutely clear that he wants the whole shooting match. And it is far from clear that when he gets back to the United States, he's going to look back on what he was promised by Mark Rutte or offered by Mark Rutte and think that it is anything other than the thin end of a pretty stale half a loaf, to mix metaphors. And I think it's perfectly possible we're going to find ourselves back in very hostile terrain on the subject of Greenland within a matter of days. But let's see where those conversations go and where the president's own view heads as he wraps up his trip to Davos and prepares to fly back to the United States.
Well, just before he does wrap it up, he is going to meet President Zelensky of Ukraine. How involved is the US president and now Board of Peace Executive Chairman Donald Trump in ending the conflict there?
Well, I mean, the United States is still, I think, even seen by the European leaders as pivotal in trying to bring about an end to the war in Ukraine. And Steve Witkoff and I think Jared Kushner are about to head to Moscow for more talks with Vladimir Putin. President Trump conceded that they still hadn't managed to bring the deal over the finishing line in conversations that he was having yesterday. But, you know, they remain hopeful. But clearly, as ever with Ukraine, the devil is in the details, and just how much territory Volodymyr Zelensky is being asked to hand over, and whether Vladimir Putin is truly serious about peace in Ukraine, or whether he just wants to continue doing what he's done throughout the first year of Donald Trump's second term in office: kick the ball down the road, kick it into the long grass, and continue sort of teasing the Americans with this idea that he's ready for peace when in fact actually intellectually, he just wants to keep the grinding conflict going. It'd be interesting to see also whether Vladimir Putin decides to sign on to that board of peace. It isn't every day these days that Vladimir Putin is offered the opportunity to join an international organisation. He may be tempted by the idea of sitting around the table.
Simon Marks, our Washington correspondent, thank you very much.